Your definite purpose will make you unstoppable. There exists within you a force so powerful, so undeniable, that when properly harnessed, it can move mountains, reshape destinies, and transform the very fabric of your reality. This force is not luck. It is not circumstance. It is not the whims of fate or the charity of others. This force is your definite purpose, the burning crystalline clarity of what you were born to achieve. Most people live their entire lives as ships without rudders, drifting aimlessly on an ocean of possibilities, never understanding that they possess the power to chart their own course. They mistake motion for progress, activity for achievement, and dreams for destiny. But you are different. You are here because something inside you refuses to accept mediocrity as your final destination. Look around you. Every empire that ever rose, every innovation that ever changed the world, every breakthrough that ever elevated humanity began with one thing: a mind that refused to accept the limitations that others called reality. When Thomas Edison sat in his laboratory, surrounded by 1,000 failed attempts at creating the light bulb, he wasn't seeing failure, he was seeing clarity. Each failed experiment wasn't a setback. It was data moving him closer to the inevitable breakthrough that would illuminate the world. Edison understood what most never grasped, that behind every great achievement lies not talent, not luck, not even intelligence in its raw form, but something far more potent, an unwavering definiteness of purpose so sharp it cuts through doubt like a blade through silk. He didn't just want to create light. He knew with absolute certainty that he would create light, and that certainty became the organizing principle around which every action, every decision, every moment of his life revolved. This is the secret that separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. It's not what you do when you feel motivated that determines your destiny. It's what you do when motivation abandons you, when the world seems to conspire against you, when every voice around you whispers that you should surrender your dreams and accept a smaller life. In those moments when the fire of inspiration dims to barely glowing embers, your definite purpose becomes your lifeline, your compass, your unwavering North Star. Consider the mind of Andrew Carnegie, a man who arrived in America with nothing but arrived nonetheless with everything that truly mattered, a burning vision of the empire he would build. Carnegie didn't see himself as an immigrant boy working in a factory. In his mind's eye, he was already the steel magnate he would become. His purpose wasn't hope, it was knowledge. He knew his destination before he took his first step on American soil. This is the difference between wishing and willing, between hoping and knowing, between dreaming and deciding. Your definite purpose is not a goal you're trying to reach. It's a reality you're choosing to create. It's the difference between saying, "I want to be successful," and declaring, "I am success in human form, and I am simply allowing my external reality to catch up with the truth of who I already am." But here's what most people miss about purpose. It's not found in quiet meditation or comfortable contemplation. It's forged in the fire of decision, crystallized in moments of absolute commitment, and refined through relentless action. Your purpose doesn't whisper, it roars. It doesn't suggest, it demands. It doesn't ask for your permission, it commands your obedience. Walt Disney understood this when he mortgaged everything he owned to bring a mouse named Mickey to life. The world called him foolish. Banks called him a dreamer. Logic called him reckless. But Disney heard a different voice, the voice of his definite purpose, which spoke louder than all the doubt and fear combined. He didn't just believe in his vision. He surrendered his entire existence to it, understanding that half-hearted commitment yields half-lived results. When your purpose becomes definite, when it transforms from a vague desire into an unshakable conviction, something magical happens in the universe around you. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly become obvious. Resources that seemed unavailable mysteriously appear. People who can help your cause are drawn to you like iron filings to a magnet. This isn't mysticism, it's the natural law of focused intention meeting prepared action. Henry Ford saw this principle in action when he conceived the automobile that every person could afford. The entire industrial establishment told him it was impossible. Engineers declared his vision technically unfeasible. Businessmen called his plans financially suicidal. But Ford's purpose burned so brightly that it lit up possibilities others couldn't see. He didn't just build cars, he reconstructed the entire concept of manufacturing, creating assembly lines that revolutionized not just transportation but the very nature of human productivity. Your definite purpose works the same way. It doesn't just change what you do, it transforms how you see. Where others see obstacles, you see stepping stones. Where others see problems, you see solutions in disguise. Where others see endings, you see new beginnings. Your purpose becomes a lens through which reality reorganizes itself to serve your highest vision. But let's be clear about what definite purpose truly means, because this understanding will separate you from the millions who mistake wishful thinking for purposeful living. A definite purpose is not a career choice. It's not a financial goal. It's not even a specific outcome you're trying to achieve. Your definite purpose is the organizing principle of your existence, the reason you draw breath, The force that pulls you forward when logic tells you to retreat. The fire that burns so intensely within you that it becomes impossible to live any life other than the one you were designed to live. Abraham Lincoln knew this truth when he stood before a nation torn apart by civil war. His definite purpose wasn't to become president, it was to preserve a union founded on the principle that all men are created equal. This purpose was so definite, so unwavering, that it carried him through the darkest moments of American history. When generals failed him, when politicians betrayed him, when the entire weight of a fractured nation pressed down upon his shoulders, his purpose remained his strength. Lincoln understood that a man with a definite purpose becomes unstoppable not because he never faces opposition, but because opposition cannot touch the core of who he is. External circumstances may bend him, but they cannot break him. Setbacks may slow him, but they cannot stop him. Critics may question his methods, but they cannot shake his resolve. This is the power that awaits you when you discover and commit to your definite purpose. It's not that life becomes easier, it's that you become stronger. The challenges don't disappear, you develop the capacity to transform them into opportunities. The obstacles don't vanish, you learn to use them as raw material for building your empire. Consider the woman who knows with absolute certainty that she was born to heal. She doesn't just want to become a doctor, she is a healer. And medical school is simply the process by which she allows her true nature to emerge. When she faces the grueling years of study, the exhausting rotations, the moments when she questions her ability to continue, her definite purpose whispers a truth that sustains her. This is not what you're trying to become. Or think of the entrepreneur who sees with crystal clarity the business empire he's destined to build. He doesn't just hope to succeed. He knows that success is inevitable because he has aligned every fiber of his being with his definite purpose. When investors reject his proposals, when competitors try to crush his dreams, when cash flow threatens to choke the life from his vision, he draws strength from an unshakable knowing. His purpose is not dependent on their approval, their cooperation, or their understanding. This is what happens when you stop asking the universe to give you what you want and start demanding that reality conform to who you truly are. Your definite purpose becomes the non-negotiable core around which everything else must arrange itself. You stop being a victim of circumstances and become the architect of your destiny. But here's where most people fail. They try to choose their purpose based on what seems practical, profitable, or socially acceptable. They look at market trends, family expectations, or cultural norms, and they try to squeeze their soul into a shape that fits someone else's definition of success. This is like trying to force the sun to rise in the west. It violates the natural order and creates nothing but frustration. Your true definite purpose isn't something you select from a menu of options. It's something you discover by peeling away the layers of conditioning, expectation, and fear that have obscured your authentic nature. It's already there, waiting for you to have the courage to claim it. Steve Jobs understood this when he returned to Apple in 19... The company was on the brink of bankruptcy, abandoned by consumers, written off by analysts. But Jobs didn't see a failing business. He saw the unrealized potential of his definite purpose. He didn't just want to sell computers. He was destined to revolutionize how humans interact with technology. His purpose was so definite that it transformed not just Apple, but the entire trajectory of human innovation. Within 14 years, Apple became the most valuable company on earth. But here's what most people miss about that transformation. It wasn't luck, market timing, or even superior products that created that miracle. It was the unstoppable force of a man whose definite purpose had become so integrated into his being that every decision, every innovation, every moment of his leadership was an expression of that deeper truth. When your purpose becomes that definite, when it transforms from something you do into something you are, you tap into a source of power that most people never even know exists. You stop working for success and start allowing success to flow through you. You stop chasing opportunities and start attracting them. You stop trying to convince others of your value and start embodying it so completely that it becomes undeniable. This is where the rubber meets the road, where philosophical understanding transforms into practical power, because knowing your definite purpose is only the beginning. The magic happens when you begin to organize every aspect of your life around that purpose, when you make it the lens through which you view every decision, every relationship, every moment of your existence. Think of your mind as the most sophisticated computer ever created, capable of processing millions of pieces of information every second. But like any computer, your mind can only deliver results based on the programming you provide. When your programming is unclear, when your purpose is vague or constantly changing, your mind produces vague and constantly changing results. But when you program your mind with a definite purpose, when you give it crystal clear instructions about what you're committed to creating, it becomes an unstoppable force of focused intelligence. This is why the most successful people in history have been obsessive about clarity. They don't just have goals, they have vivid, detailed, emotionally charged visions of their desired outcomes that they review, refine, and recommit to every single day. They understand that the subconscious mind works tirelessly to create whatever reality you consistently focus upon, but it needs specificity to work with. Oprah Winfrey knew this when she was still a local news anchor in Baltimore, facing discrimination and setbacks that would have broken most people's spirit. But in the quiet moments before sleep each night, she would visualize herself not just as a successful broadcaster, but as a force for positive transformation in the world. She saw herself interviewing presidents and paupers with equal compassion, creating conversations that would heal divisions and inspire millions. Her definite purpose wasn't just to be famous, it was to use media as a tool for human connection and empowerment. That purpose became her programming, and her subconscious mind went to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, identifying opportunities, developing skills, and attracting circumstances that would make that vision inevitable. She didn't just hope for success, she programmed herself for it. This is the level of intentionality that your definite purpose demands. It's not enough to have a general sense of direction. You need a specific destination. It's not enough to want something better. You need to know exactly what better looks like, feels like, sounds like, and even smells like. Your subconscious mind communicates in images, emotions, and sensations, not abstract concepts. The more vividly you can envision your definite purpose manifested in reality, the more powerfully your mind can work to create it. But here's where most people sabotage themselves. They create beautiful visions of their desired future, but they continue to live as if their current limitations are permanent. They dream of abundance while maintaining poverty consciousness. They visualize success while continuing to think and act like failures. They want transformation while clinging to familiar patterns that created their current circumstances. Your definite purpose requires more than visualization. It demands transformation at the level of identity. You cannot create a new reality from an old identity. You cannot build an extraordinary life with ordinary thinking. You cannot achieve different results while remaining the same person. Colonel Sanders understood this principle when he was 62 years old, facing the closure of his restaurant due to highway construction that diverted traffic away from his business. Most people his age would have accepted defeat, settled into retirement, and spent their remaining years talking about what might have been. But Sanders' definite purpose, to share his unique chicken recipe with the world, wouldn't let him surrender. He didn't just have a good product. He had an unshakable knowing that his recipe was destined to feed millions. This knowing was so definite that he transformed himself from a local restaurant owner into a traveling salesman, driving from town to town, sleeping in his car, cooking his chicken for restaurant owners who would initially mock his appearance and dismiss his proposal. Sanders faced rejection over 1,000 times. 1,000 times. Restaurant owners told him his chicken wasn't good enough, his business model wouldn't work, his dream was unrealistic. But each rejection only strengthened his resolve because his purpose wasn't based on their approval, it was based on his knowing. He understood that their rejection was temporary, but his recipe was eternal. On attempt number 1009, someone said yes. Today, KFC serves millions of customers in over 145 countries, generating billions in revenue. But here's the real secret. Sanders' success wasn't created in that 1009th meeting. It was created in the moment he decided that his definite purpose was non-negotiable, that he would continue knocking on doors until someone recognized the value he knew he possessed. This is the mindset shift that makes you unstoppable, understanding that your definite purpose is not dependent on external validation, market conditions, or the approval of others. It exists independent of circumstances, and circumstances must eventually align with it, not the other way around. When you reach this level of certainty, when your purpose becomes so definite that it feels more real than your current reality, you enter a state of consciousness that most people never experience. You begin to operate from the end result rather than from your current limitations. You make decisions based on who you're becoming rather than who you've been. You invest energy in your vision rather than your problems. This shift in consciousness creates what appears to be miraculous results, but it's not magic. It's the natural consequence of aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions with a definite purpose. When every cell in your body vibrates with the same frequency, when every decision moves you toward the same destination, when every relationship serves the same vision, you become a force of nature that cannot be contained by ordinary circumstances. Consider the phenomenon of Michael Jordan, who didn't just play basketball, he embodied the definite purpose of transcending every limitation that had ever been placed on athletic achievement. Jordan's purpose wasn't to be good at basketball, it was to redefine what was possible within the human form. This purpose was so definite that it transformed his body into a precision instrument. his mind into an unbreakable weapon, and his spirit into an unstoppable force. When Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, he didn't see rejection, he saw redirection. His definite purpose whispered that this setback was simply the universe's way of forcing him to dig deeper, to want it more, to prove that his vision was stronger than any temporary obstacle. Every practice session became an act of worship at the altar of his definite purpose. Every missed shot became data for improvement. Every victory became evidence of what he already knew to be true. This is the mindset that makes champions in every field of human endeavor. It's not talent that creates greatness. Talent is merely the raw material. It's not opportunity. Opportunity is simply the stage. It's the marriage of talent and opportunity with definite purpose that creates legends. It's the unwavering knowing that you were born to achieve something specific, something that only you can achieve, something that will leave the world better than you found it. Your definite purpose acts like a magnet, drawing to you the people, resources, and circumstances necessary for its fulfillment. But here's the key. The magnet only works when it's energized by unwavering faith and consistent action. A magnet sitting on a shelf has potential but produces no results. A magnet connected to an electrical current becomes a force that can lift tons of steel. Your faith is the electrical current that energizes your definite purpose. Not blind faith, not wishful thinking, not positive affirmations repeated without conviction, but the kind of faith that's been tested in the fire of adversity and emerged stronger. The faith that whispers not yet when circumstances scream never. The faith that sees possibility where others see impossibility. The faith that transforms obstacles into stepping stones and setbacks into comebacks. Ray Kroc possessed this kind of faith when he encountered the McDonald brothers' small hamburger operation in San Bernardino, California. Kroc wasn't just impressed by their efficient system. He was struck by a vision so powerful it rearranged his entire understanding of what was possible. He saw not just a good restaurant, but a revolution in food service that would span the globe. The McDonald brothers were content with their local success, but Kroc's definite purpose demanded something greater. He saw golden arches rising in every town, in every state, in every country. He envisioned families gathering under those arches, creating memories over simple meals served with unprecedented consistency and speed. His purpose wasn't just to sell hamburgers. It was to create a system that would feed the world while teaching the principles of efficiency, standardization, and relentless quality control. That vision sustained Kroc through years of financial struggle, legal battles, and personal sacrifice. When banks refused to loan him money, when partners betrayed his trust, when competitors tried to copy his system, he drew strength from an unshakable knowing. His definite purpose was bigger than any individual setback, stronger than any temporary defeat, more certain than any doubt. Today, McDonald's serves 69 million customers daily in over 100 countries, but the real victory wasn't in the numbers. It was in the proof that a definite purpose, energized by unwavering faith and supported by relentless action, can indeed transform a simple vision into global reality. This is the level of commitment that your definite purpose deserves. Not the casual interest you might give to a hobby, not the moderate enthusiasm you might feel for a temporary goal, but the total surrender of your entire being to something greater than yourself. When you reach this level of commitment, when your purpose becomes the organizing principle around which your entire life revolves, you discover reservoirs of strength you never knew existed. You find that you can work longer without fatigue because you're not just working, you're expressing your essential nature. You discover that you can persist through obstacles that would crush others because your purpose provides a perspective that transforms problems into puzzles to be solved. You realize that you can maintain hope in the darkest circumstances because your definite purpose connects you to a truth that transcends temporary conditions. But let's address the fear that stops most people from committing fully to their definite purpose, the fear that they might be wrong, that they might fail, that they might waste years of their life pursuing something that ultimately doesn't manifest. This fear is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how definite purpose works. Your definite purpose is not a gamble, it's a guarantee. Not a guarantee of specific outcomes, but a guarantee of growth, discovery, and the development of capacities you never knew you possessed. When you commit fully to your definite purpose, you cannot fail in the deepest sense because the journey itself transforms you into the person you were meant to become. Thomas Edison's laboratory burned down in December 1914, destroying millions of dollars worth of equipment and decades of research notes. Most men would have seen this as the end of their careers, the cruel joke of fate that rendered their life's work meaningless. But Edison saw something different. As he stood watching the flames consume his life's work, he turned to his son and said, "Go get your mother and all her friends. They'll never see a fire like this again." The next morning, Edison was already making plans to rebuild, not because he was in denial about his losses, but because his definite purpose was larger than any single laboratory, stronger than any temporary setback, more resilient than any external circumstance. The fire had destroyed his equipment, but it could not touch the source of his power, the unwavering certainty that he was destined to illuminate the world through innovation. Within 3 weeks, Edison's team was producing $10,000 worth of new inventions daily. The destruction that should have ended his career became the catalyst for his greatest period of productivity. This is what happens when your definite purpose becomes unshakable. External circumstances lose their power to define your reality because your reality is anchored in something eternal. This understanding separates those who achieve lasting greatness from those who experience temporary success. Temporary success depends on favorable conditions, lucky breaks, and the absence of major obstacles. But greatness rooted in definite purpose thrives regardless of conditions because it draws its strength from an internal source that external circumstances cannot touch. When you truly understand this principle, when it moves from intellectual knowledge to cellular knowing, you begin to welcome obstacles as opportunities to prove the strength of your purpose. Each challenge becomes a chance to demonstrate that your commitment runs deeper than convenience, that your vision is clearer than your current circumstances, that your faith is stronger than your fears. Consider the story of a young woman who knew with absolute certainty that she was born to revolutionize education. She didn't just want to be a teacher. She carried within her the definite purpose of creating learning environments that would unlock the genius in every child. When the traditional education system rejected her innovative approaches, when administrators dismissed her methods as impractical, when colleagues ridiculed her vision, she didn't abandon her purpose. She allowed her purpose to transform her. She began teaching in her living room with 5 students whose parents had lost faith in conventional schools. Those 5 students became 10, then 20, then 50. Word spread about the miraculous transformations happening in her unconventional classroom. Students who had been labeled as failures were discovering hidden talents. Children who had been written off as learning disabled were achieving at levels that astounded their parents. Within 5 years, she had created a network of learning centers that were producing results traditional schools couldn't match. Within 10 years, her methods were being studied by educators worldwide. Her definite purpose hadn't just changed her life, it had revolutionized how thousands of children experienced learning. But here's the crucial point: her success wasn't measured by the external recognition she eventually received. Her success began the moment she decided that her definite purpose was non-negotiable, that she would find a way to express it regardless of whether the existing system supported her vision. The external manifestations were simply the inevitable result of internal commitment. This is the secret that the most successful people understand but rarely articulate. Your definite purpose is not something you hope to achieve. It's something you are. It's not a destination you're traveling toward. It's the vehicle in which you're traveling. It's not a goal you're pursuing. It's the energy that's pursuing every goal through you. When you reach this level of understanding, when your purpose becomes so integrated into your identity that there's no separation between who you are and what you do, you enter a realm of effortless power that most people never experience. You stop struggling against life and start dancing with it. You stop forcing doors open and start walking through doors that open naturally in response to your authentic expression. Mark Cuban understood this principle when he sold his first company, Micro Solutions, for millions and could have retired to a life of leisure. But Cuban's definite purpose wasn't financial security. It was the expression of his entrepreneurial genius in service of creating value for others. Money was simply the scoreboard, not the game itself. He used his financial freedom to pursue bigger visions, more challenging problems, more ambitious goals. Each success became the foundation for the next level of expression. Each achievement became evidence of what was possible when definite purpose met unlimited commitment. Cuban didn't just build businesses, he built a legacy of innovation that continues to inspire entrepreneurs worldwide. This is what happens when you stop treating your definite purpose like a part-time interest and start treating it like the core organizing principle of your existence. Every decision becomes easier because you have a clear standard for evaluation. Does this move me toward my definite purpose or away from it? Every relationship becomes clearer because you understand your non-negotiables. You can only maintain connections with people who support your highest vision or at least refuse to undermine it. Every opportunity becomes obvious because you're no longer confused about what you're looking for. You're not trying to figure out what you want. You know what you want. You're not hoping something good will happen. You're creating something great. You're not waiting for permission. You're giving yourself the ultimate permission to become who you were always meant to be. But here's where the rubber meets the road, where inspiration must transform into implementation, where vision must marry action. Because a definite purpose without a definite plan is merely a beautiful dream. A definite purpose without daily disciplines is nothing more than wishful thinking. A definite purpose without the willingness to sacrifice comfort for growth remains forever potential, never actualized power. The transformation from dreamer to achiever happens in the space between knowing what you want and doing what's required. It happens in the early morning hours when motivation has abandoned you, but discipline carries you forward. It happens in the moments when every external voice tells you to quit, but your internal knowing whispers continue. It happens when you choose the difficult path that leads to your destiny over the easy path that leads to mediocrity. Arnold Schwarzenegger understood this principle when he arrived in America with nothing but a definite purpose so clear it bordered on the ridiculous. He knew with absolute certainty that he would become the world's greatest bodybuilder, then a movie star, then a successful businessman, then a political leader. Each goal seemed impossible to those who knew his circumstances, but they were inevitable to the man who had made them definite. Schwarzenegger didn't just visualize success, he organized his entire life around creating it. Every meal was planned to build the physique that would win championships. Every workout was designed to sculpt the image he carried in his mind. Every moment of rest was calculated to maximize recovery and growth. He didn't just want to be great. He systematically constructed greatness one decision at a time. When people mocked his accent and told him he'd never succeed in Hollywood because of his unpronounceable name, Schwarzenegger didn't see limitation. He saw uniqueness. His definite purpose whispered that his differences weren't obstacles to overcome, but advantages to leverage. He would become successful not in spite of his uniqueness, but because of it. This is the mindset that transforms ordinary individuals into extraordinary forces of nature. It's not the absence of obstacles that creates success, it's the presence of purpose so definite that obstacles become raw material for achievement. Every challenge becomes a chance to prove your commitment. Every setback becomes a setup for a comeback. Every no becomes fuel for the yes that's coming. Your definite purpose demands this level of strategic thinking, this marriage of vision and planning, this integration of dreams and disciplines. It requires you to become both the architect of your destiny and the construction worker who builds it brick by brick, day by day, choice by choice. Consider the discipline required by a concert pianist who knows with absolute certainty that she was born to move audiences through music. She doesn't just practice when she feels inspired. She practices because practice is the vehicle through which her definite purpose expresses itself. Every scale she runs, every technique she masters, every piece she perfects is not preparation for her destiny. It is her destiny unfolding in real time. When her fingers ache from hours of practice, when her schedule demands sacrifice of social pleasures, when critics question her interpretation of beloved pieces, she doesn't see hardship. She sees the necessary refinement that transforms potential into mastery. Her discipline isn't a burden she carries. It's the wings on which her purpose soars. This is the level of commitment that your definite purpose deserves. Not the casual effort you might give to a hobby, not the moderate dedication you might show to a passing interest, but the total devotion of someone who understands that their purpose is the most important thing they will ever do because it's the reason they're here. But let's address the modern epidemic that kills more dreams than failure, poverty, or opposition combined, the disease of distraction. We live in an age where your attention is under constant assault, where every notification promises to be more interesting than your current focus, where the infinite scroll of social media offers endless escape from the difficult work of building something meaningful. Your definite purpose is the antidote to this poison. When your purpose becomes definite, when it transforms from a vague aspiration into a burning obsession, distractions lose their power over you. You don't have to force yourself to avoid time wasters. They simply become irrelevant to someone who has something more important to do. Jeff Bezos understood this when he left a lucrative Wall Street job to start Amazon in his garage. Friends called him crazy for abandoning a secure career to sell books online. Financial advisors warned him about the risks of entrepreneurship. Logic suggested he was making the biggest mistake of his life. But Bezos saw something they couldn't see because his definite purpose provided a perspective they didn't possess. He wasn't just starting a bookstore, he was creating the infrastructure for the digital economy. He wasn't just building a business, he was constructing the future of commerce itself. His purpose was so definite that it made the safe choice of staying in his current job feel like the riskiest decision he could make. Within 2 decades, Amazon became one of the most valuable companies in human history, revolutionizing not just retail but cloud computing, artificial intelligence, and space exploration. But the real victory wasn't in the market capitalization. It was in the proof that when you align your actions with your definite purpose, when you choose the uncertainty of your dreams over the security of your fears, the universe conspires to support your highest vision. You're not waiting for permission. You're giving yourself the ultimate permission to become who you were always meant to be.